Hey, what's up, guys? It is Sunday, so that means it is time for the I-71 Playbook Podcast. I'm BB, and with me, as always, is BC. How are we this morning, Mr. Sir?
I am good, BB. Happy Sunday morning to you. As you can see, based on the past week's sporting endeavors, I have coordinated. I would love to, give a little shout out to my alma mater, the Mount Union Purple Raiders, who now has a Super Bowl winning head coach amongst their alumni. Congratulations, Nick
Oh,
Sirianni. And
oh.
then, in honor of our new defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. Okay, so anyway,
We'll
ready.
get into that in a minute.
ready to rock and roll this pod today, BB.
So, some exciting things last night on TV. I think you and I
Okay.
both watched two extremely different but incredibly electrifying witnesses of sports strength.
It's what makes sports amazing, right? It's why we're all fans. I watched something and I couldn't wait to talk to you about it. You watched something and you're like, I can't wait to talk to you. We actually postponed the pod for about 5 minutes so we could go back and see highlights of what each other missed. Yeah, so last night I got home. I was out, got to see one of my closest friends was back in Northeast Ohio. So I went and spent some time with him and some old friends last night. Had a good time. And I got
Yay.
home and turned on the NBA All-Star Weekend. And I'll be honest with you, I
Okay.
have not watched much of this since I was a kid. I just the dunk contest got really boring.
Yeah.
I'm not as dialed into the NBA as I used to, unless it's the Cavs. Like I purely follow the NBA through the Cavs now. I used to
Right.
be a college basketball and NBA savant. Like I could tell you where college they were, like it just there's a lot of reasons for that. But my friends, my dad, and I, when we were growing up, we did a lot of NCAA tournament kind of contests and stuff. So I got to know the players, and I
Okay.
always followed them through the NBA. That doesn't happen anymore. Now that I'm
No.
hitting my golden years here, so I just don't pay the attention I used to.
Ooh.
So last night I turned it on just in time to see Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell win the skills competition.
Nice.
Darius Garland competed in 3-point contest, came in third place. He did make the finals, but then they had a terrible final round.
Ooh.
But then something magical happened, and I'm going to tell the
I see what you
Potters.
did there. I see what you did there.
Not this jersey, but who we're about to talk about. If you did not see highlights from last night's dunk contest, I'm going to ask you to pause our pod here, and I'm going to ask you to YouTube Mac McClung, and you are going to see a 6'2" G League All-Star. He's played in the NBA, 2-time defending NBA dunk champion, do inhuman feats. I'll just preview it. In his dunks, he jumped over a car. He dunked 2 basketballs from 2 different people holding them. And then he jumped over a 7-footer, hit the rim with the ball that he grabbed off the 7-footer's head, hit the rim, and then dunked the ball. And what I just said does not do justice to what that dude did last night. And I think it was Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith last night said it best. He saved the dunk contest. Like he is must watch. He is must watch TV. I went back immediately and watched the last 2 years of what he won, and just incredible athlete. And so, anyway, a lot of fun. NBA. I had a blast watching it last night for the first time in a long time, and I'm glad I turned it on because I really had zero desire to watch it. And then I'm like, I had nothing else on. I turned it on, and boom. So just building off that, and then we're going to get to your sporting event last night. The second half of the NBA season for the Cavs starts on Thursday. I believe they play. I want to say they're playing Brooklyn. I believe.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, I think they got the Nets this week. Your Cleveland Cavaliers are first place in the East. Have a semi-comfortable lead right now over Boston, and also have the best record in the NBA. If you're not following this team, it's time to dial in because we are over halfway to the playoffs. The playoffs will be here before you know it, and this team's a contender. This is a team that can legitimately bring another championship back to Cleveland. I'm not. That's not hyperbole. Like they are.
No.
They are strong. They got a 10-man rotation that's better than anybody in the NBA right now. They got 3 all-stars starting for them. They just got a proven scorer to fill in their only weakness at the wing. They're going to be trouble.
Yeah,
they're going to be trouble. So
look out now.
Anyway, watch the Cavs if you haven't been watching the Cavs. They're going to be on a lot more national TV too. So if you don't have what's the Bally's app, if you don't have that, they're going to be flexing a lot of their games to national. BB, tell me about what I saw just a couple minutes ago.
Well, hold on. So yeah, we delayed the pod. We both gave each other a little bit of homework to watch 2 incredible videos in 2 completely different sports. However, I have, after watching that clip, director Ron Shelton lied to me because white man can in fact jump. Oh, so what I watched. So I am a huge hockey fan. We talked about that on the pod. And last night was the NHL's version of the All-Star Weekend. So they decided this year to do the 4 Nations face-off. So it is it's an all-star team of Canadian players, American players, Swedish players, and Finnish players that all are in this round robin. So last night was USA versus Canada. And if you know anything about the history of these 2 programs, they don't like each other at all. And that was very apparent last night. Opening puck drop, boom. You've got, I want to say it was Matthew Tkachuk went after it, and it was a yard sale. Everybody skated out of Skinner Ice. They let them have it, and they went hard. So then, all right, they skate off, go into the penalty box. You know, the ref takes everybody back center ice, drops the puck, boom. His brother, Brady, steps up. Now, okay, so we've got 2 fights in the first 6 seconds. 6 seconds of this game. So finally, we're like, all right, the refs are going to have to get a hold of this. Puck drop one more time. JT Miller comes in, drops his gloves. You had 3 seconds or 3 fights in 9 seconds. That is insane.
And they were throwing haymakers.
See, like, and I saw
I've seen hockey fights where I've seen hockey fights where they're just posturing up and they're not. Those guys are swinging for the fences.
The science behind hockey fights is actually kind of interesting. And if anybody is curious about the dying art of the enforcer role, check out a really cool documentary called Ice Guardians. I believe it is still on Amazon Prime, and it is streaming on YouTube. Really, really cool. Just talks about the history of the position, and talks about some of the things behind the fights. So what was wild though, and I saw a post, I think it was last night, and it was like the NFL has turned the Pro Bowl into a flag football game. And you've got the Major League All-Star where they are not breaking a sweat to do, defensive moves. You have the NHL who is literally throwing haymakers at each other and they don't care. Like it was a great game to watch. The USA did pull it out 3-1 and they are playing, they're going on to the finals. So it's since it's a 4-team tournament, it's all based on a point system. And if you know anything about hockey points, it doesn't always make sense. So, but yeah, they play again Monday night, and hopefully they get it done.
If I'm correct, hockey actually makes soccer scoring look normal.
Yes. Yes.
It's always funny when American. Yeah, it's always funny when an American, tries to understand table scoring, and it's not, in soccer, like 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for a loss. It's not that hard. and they get confused. Like, yeah, try hockey. Good luck.
Yeah, because you get points for overtime or for regulation wins, for overtime wins, for overtime losses, for shootout wins. You know, it's a mess. It's a mess. But
oh no, I just quick question for you, an honest question, and you know, we are by far not a political pod here.
Yeah.
The recent political atmosphere between Canada and the United States is at an all-time low right now. It's
correct.
Awful. And we're not going to get into the reasons for it. People already know.
Google is still free.
Google is still free. Do you think some of that, and once again, the American anthem was booed at a recent game? Do you think some of that had to do with these fights, or is this just these guys really just hate each other and it all predates what's going on now?
I think it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, truthfully. I mean, these are also guys who may potentially be on the same team.
Right.
You know, so now you're going up against each other. The history of the programs themselves, there's always been, it's kind of like, so to put it in football terms, it's always going to be like when Michigan takes on Ohio State or when Cleveland takes on Pittsburgh. You know that everyone is going to bring their A game and the emotions are going to be high. With recent events, I do think that fed into it a little bit more. And I saw an interview last night that the Kachuk brothers, their father also played. And their father got into a fight in a game against, you know, the USA versus Canada. So at that, both of them were like, you know, paying homage to their father. So I can buy that too. But what was really kind of sad, and I completely understand the reasons why, but you had the announcer in the Bell Center in Montreal last night come on before announcing the teams. Please have respect for both countries' national anthems. And they brought Michelle Kwan out to introduce the USA team, and that it was loud and it was not favorable. And I can understand, like I totally get it. And there were some boos when the gentleman from the Canadian Royal National Air Guard sang our anthem. And it's just it's not.
I think we could say
fun to see.
It's not necessary. Yeah, it's not. None of this was necessary. We'll just put it that way. None of this was necessary.
Absolutely not.
And it's a shame to see our closest neighbors and allies really not liking us right now at the moment. I think it's a sad day for all of us. But
I agree, and and just real quick, you know, before we get too down that road,
absolutely,
being kind of a history nerd myself, and watching everything that's going on, and you know, we've kind of been here before. Canada is not a country that you want to go to war with. They are a country that you want to go to war alongside of. Like, you want them on your team. They are the reasons that war crimes exist. The absolute savagery that the Canadian military forces have done over the course of history is wild, absolutely wild. And it's not all Timbits and hockey and maple syrup and, you know, polite. Because people who are that polite have gone through a lot of stuff to get them to that point. So just
no matter where you sit on the political divide in the United States, prices are about to skyrocket everywhere, and a lot of that is going to be because we're not working well with our allies up north. People have no idea the amount of economic dependency we have with Canada, and this is going to get ugly. This is going to get really ugly, and you know, hopefully we'll see a brighter future. But just, you know, don't be surprised, like I said, when those price of eggs don't go down again, because it's going to get ugly.
Unfortunately.
Moving on.
But moving on to brighter things, some Buckeye news. We got some coordinators going on, and I think you and I might be in different camps about this.
I don't know if we're that far off, to be 100%. Obviously, I'm kidding. The Buckeyes hired Matt Patricia, former New England defensive coordinator, I think, and offensive coordinator, if I'm right. Didn't he serve both positions for New England before he went to Detroit?
I think he was the DC.
I think he was. I want to say he was. I think we'll have to look it up. But I think because I remember just like the world being shocked that Belichick moved him over to OC when Josh McDaniels left at one point. And I could be wrong, but I just think he did both jobs, and everybody was just kind of shocked by that. And then obviously you have, being a Lions fan, you have much more of a familiarity with Matt Patricia, so I'll let you say your piece. I'll be honest with you. The guy's a proven defensive coordinator at the NFL. I think he'll be a good fit for Ohio State. I don't, he's going to run a system very similar to Jim Knowles. So the players aren't going to have to, completely revamp the defense. He's very creative in his defensive, the beauty of New England during his time there. And once again, I can't speak to Detroit. I didn't really follow, but the beauty when he was the defensive coordinator, and a lot of that was Belichick too. We have to remember Belichick's one of the greatest defensive minds ever in the NFL.
How's that taste coming out of your mouth as a Browns fan?
Yeah.
How's that taste coming out?
Credit where credit's due. Credit where credit's due. But Patricia and Belichick and New England in their heyday were amazing at having this really vanilla-looking formation defensively and doing super exotic things out of it. So you never could, and that's why their defense was so successful, because you just could never, ever read what they were doing. You didn't know if they were rushing 4, they were blitzing, they were bringing the house, they were dropping 8 in coverage. You had no idea. And every formation looked fairly similar between them. So Patricia brings that kind of energy to Ohio State with their athletes. That's very Jim Knowles-like, and that's what, Jim Knowles was very good at that too. That was one of the strengths the Buckeyes have had the last couple of years on defense, is the fact that you had no idea what was coming. No. They could run 3 safeties out there and then bring 2 safeties in the box. They can run 3 safeties out there and drop them in coverage. And they're so athletic. We talked about this with Caleb Downs. Like, Caleb Downs plays 10 to 12 yards off the ball, but he's so athletic. He's at the line of scrimmage before the running back. And so,
absolutely.
So, he can do some really, he is dealing with, next level talent at the D1 level at Ohio State. He's going to get the best athletes, the best players. I think he's going to be very creative. I think Ohio State defense is going to be fine. And can I take this out now? Because I don't know how he does this. This is super annoying.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Talk to me about Matt Patricia, BB.
So I'm torn. And here's why. Yes, he had a decent record as a DC in New England. And the question then comes to how much of that was him and how much of that was Belichick. Obviously, yes, his time in Detroit was not favorable. But the reason why I'm actually torn, and it has nothing to do with him on the field, it's actually off the field where I have a little bit of apprehension, a little bit of concern. Bit of a toxic work environment and really disrespectful to players. Now, we've seen, obviously, the difference in college coaches versus NFL coaches in dealing with your talent. College coaches, you are basically the judge, jury, and executioner of all that are within your program. Urban Meyer ran a really, really tight program here when he, won multiple championships with us. But then goes to the NFL where those tactics aren't still going to work. And
it's so funny you bring up Urban, because that was going to be my comeback to you. Let's look at Urban Meyer. But you know what? You just B-rabbited me or Kendrick Lamar'd me there, and but we'll get that out here a little bit. you beat me to it.
considering KDOT is everywhere right now, I will take that as a badge of honor, sir. Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Not a problem.
But I'm being a defensive coordinator versus a head coach, obviously, are miles apart. So he's still going to have to answer to Ryan Day at the end of, when it's all said and done. So I think he'll be able to keep him reined in as far as the toxic work environment and just disrespecting to players. We'll have to see. I'm not thrilled. I'm also not like this is the worst hire ever. We'll see. So this we'll come back to this one.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we talk a lot Buckeyes in the summer and fall. I just the one thing that was proven to me throughout this whole run, and despite the calling for the heads of Ryan Day that have really been happening for 3 years by some people on this pod as well.
Hello.
Is he? I give Ryan Day credit. He's never lost a locker room, and what we found out is that he is beloved by his players. Like that team plays for him, and we saw that through here. And one of the cool things, after it was all said and done in the interview, is like, hey, we want to do this for Coach Day. That being said, Ryan Day is on the all-time high right now as the national championship coach.
Right.
He's got to believe that Matt Patricia will be good for the program because he had. I mean, let's be honest. He had a huge pull to pull defensive coordinators from.
Absolutely.
So I'm willing to give this a shot. I am, me. I'm always kind of the last to make a judgment call. Ask Myles Garrett, and so
Ooh.
yeah. No, we'll get back to that.
Ooh.
So anyway, but yeah, let's give Patricia. I think we're both in agreement. Brian Hartline, fantastic hire for the OC. And we'll see what Matt Patricia. Absolutely way overdue. I understand it may have been Brian Hartline saying I'm not ready. We don't know behind the scenes.
That could be too.
But great hire, and we'll see what Matt Patricia brings. Recruiting season's pretty much over at this point, so we'll see how this goes. Now, there was a big event that happened last Sunday. About really? Last week, about 7 hours from now. Yeah, in case you missed it. What I'm excited about was neither you or I really had a prediction for the game. We didn't really care about either team, right? I mean, I think that's fair. I think if we roll the tape, I predicted the Eagles would win, but I did not expect an absolute drubbing of the two-time defending champs.
Right.
I did not expect to see Patrick Mahomes running for his life the entire game. Fun stat, and I think actually a lot of people know this stat. So Patrick Mahomes was sacked 6 times last week in that game. The Eagles did not blitz once. That is incredible. And by the way, for Browns fans, let me tell you how that affects you, Browns fans.
Oh.
What happens in the Super Bowl has a huge ripple effect on free agency because you see a formula. Yeah. You see a formula. And the formula this year wasn't like the best quarterback won. Jalen Hurts, dude, you're good. You're an all-pro or Pro Bowler. You're a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. You are talented, but you're not Patrick Mahomes. And we saw the best quarterback maybe ever to play the game. Like there's going to be argument when his career is done, him and Brady. We saw that dude running for his life, and it was very reminiscent of the first time New England played the Giants, and Tom Brady just got beat up in that game. Why? Yeah. Because their defensive line, the Giants' defensive line at that time was so dominant, and we saw that with the Eagles. If you can get pressure up the middle, and this is an age-old football axiom, if you get pressure up the middle, that quarterback doesn't have a chance. Like they just don't have a chance. It's okay if you can get them in the pocket and you can push the pocket out, and that quarterback like Patrick Mahomes is going to eat you up. Even on the run, he's going to eat you up. But he had no time to settle. His feet were chopping the entire game. He was nervous. You could see it. I've never seen him play like that.
No.
You know, and kudos to Philadelphia. But back to why this benefits Browns fans. Okay, I think we've all come to the realization that Myles Garrett's not going to be a Cleveland Brown next year.
Probably not.
But Myles Garrett is going to give a team who thinks they're close to contention that pie in the sky thought that, hey, we could be Philadelphia. If we just have Myles Garrett, we could just wreak havoc on backfields, and we don't need the best quarterback play. And I think a lot of teams on the bubble, playoff teams, or are like, man, Myles Garrett's going to be the guy. And we were talking about, hey, 2 number ones. I think that pot just went up. I think the Browns are going to get very rich because of Philadelphia's victory in this game. I think it might even be possible we see a three number ones come to Cleveland.
So you're calling for the actual draft day trade.
I'm calling for the reverse Deshaun trade. I am.
You're calling for 3 number ones and David goddamn Putney just because you feel like it. Like that's what you're calling for. That's what you're calling for.
I don't want to say I'm calling for it, but would I be surprised if the Browns get 3 runs or 2 1s and 2 2s out of this, or 2 1s and 2 and a really good player? I think the price went up because of Philadelphia's. And it's just, once again, Joe Schmo football fan here, sitting in the basement in Worcester, Ohio. But just I think I believe that Myles is the Browns price tag for Myles has went up, and I think somebody's going to meet him there because they just watched a dominant defensive line destroy the best quarterback maybe ever to play the game, and
that was absolutely.
It was shocking. No, I was just going to say it was shocking.
It was like, I mean, I know the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, which is historic for some things that you don't want to mess with down there. Something had to have happened, because to see a team, the only time I've seen Kansas City actually play that terrible, and we did see it once before in the season. It was the beginning of the season. I believe it was their last pregame. The words are hard right now. Sorry.
Sunday morning. Words
it
are
is.
hard.
It's Sunday morning. Words are hard. Preseason. Thank you. There we go. Couldn't figure out the other word. We took the scenic route. We got there.
Hey, guys, while we're here, like and subscribe. Thanks. Thumbs up.
But no, their final preseason game, when they literally sat all of their starters and got absolutely just rocked. That's the only time that I had seen them actually play at that level last night. And I was kind of torn because obviously I didn't want Kansas City to win for multiple reasons, but I wanted Kareem to get a ring. I was just kind of like, all right, so if they win, Kareem's going to get his ring. He gets his flowers. I love that. But seeing the Philadelphia's defense just be so absolutely dominant was wild. I mean, absolutely wild.
And it was crazy too. Like, I mean, you watch Mahomes. He made so many bad passes, and we're not even talking bad reads. We're talking. There was 2 in the first half, particularly I think of the Travis Kelce, that were way behind him. And I'm like, this just like, we're in bizarre world right now. And I'm like, once I think they went up 17-0. I want to say it was 17-0. I was just like, that's game. We're done. People I was watching the game with are like, it's over. They're not going to come back. I said they were discombobulated. And one of the things about Kansas City, this year, they won a bunch of close games. They won a bunch of 1-score games.
They did.
And, a lot of people were saying, well, it's just because they were bored, or this is because, they could turn it on when they want to at the end of the game.
No.
No, I just think they're kind of an aging team. They're going to have to revamp.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised Travis Kelce retires this year. I just wouldn't be surprised. He's 34 now.
There's a lot of whispers about that.
Yeah. And they're going to have to revamp, and they will. And with Mahomes, they're always going to be a Super Bowl contender. Like we saw New England go through this too. They had kind of a switch over, and they never missed a beat.
Right.
Kansas City is going to be the team to beat in the AFC for the next 10 years. But I think a lot of their shine came off with this Super Bowl, and I think those signs have been there all year. I really do. I think they only lost. Didn't they only lose one game in the regular season? Weren't they 16-1 or 15-2? Oh, they were 15-2. They got blown out that last
15-2, yeah.
Because they said everybody. But if you're Buffalo, it's not going to be Baltimore. What would I say here in a second? But if you're Buffalo, if you're the Chargers, if you're Houston, you're like, 3 first-round picks for Myles Garrett. Doesn't sound too steep. So I'm just, once again, there's a formula. There's a formula to beat him now. I still think
that if you're listening,
I still think the leader. I still think the leader in the clubhouse and the team that's going to get him is going to be Detroit. I don't know why, but from when this all started, Myles will be a Detroit Lion. I don't know why. Once again, but man, they're going to need some help on the defensive front to compete with Philly. Offensively, they can score with them, but yeah, I think my Super Bowl did a couple things. It brought home a Super Bowl trophy to Mount Union, yay, and it upped Miles's price, yay.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to Miles. Talk to your former buddy Za'Darius. See how he likes it up here.
BB is openly recruiting you now, Miles. from her one team to her other team.
Right. That's why I loved how that Za'Darius signing worked. I mean, I like to watch him in Cleveland. He was a lot of fun to watch off the field as well. And on the field, he's still got it.
Yeah, Za'Darius Smith's just a good dude. And so it's good to see him have some success and get a run in the playoffs. From
the minute that man touched down in Detroit, like that smile just never left his face. And he has a smile that can literally just like light up Vegas. So Miles, I'm just saying, like, saying.
So I'm, once again, I think, the one thing I did catch Miles said is he's willing to do whatever his contract to help Cleveland not have a penalty so he can get out. If that is true, if he is willing to eat some money to get out of Cleveland, that says a lot about Cleveland, first of all, but also, he may be out of here before free agency, and I think the Browns would like to know what they have going in before free agency in the draft without Miles.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, and to be honest with you, I can't wait for him to go away. So that's where I'm at with the whole thing. Now,
it's gonna be bittersweet. Sorry.
The game itself was not particularly exciting. Obviously, if you're an Eagles fan, if you're my boy Bradley Cooper, and in case you all didn't know, I have a history with Bradley Cooper that someday maybe we'll talk about on the pod. Good dude, nothing bad. I actually met him, and so Bradley Cooper, congratulations to your Eagles winning that game. I saw you scream them out, as they ran on the field. If you weren't an Eagles fan, it was a pretty boring game for the rest of football. But as we predicted, the most interesting thing about this game would not involve football, but would happen at halftime. And as we predicted, Kendrick Lamar brought it, and about 60% of America didn't understand it, and it is a wonderful thing to watch online.
For 14 minutes, I literally just sat and I watched this man do absolute art. Not only is he a multi-award winning artist, the only rapper to have a Pulitzer Prize for his lyrics. I mean, like, let's talk about that for a minute.
Won Grammys, won Oscars.
Yeah.
He's done it all.
Right.
I had a couple
multiple.
I had a couple conversations with people. You know, I'm not going to stereotype, but people that you kind of figured would not really understand what he was doing and what he was performing about, and they had no idea how just a mega star Kendrick Lamar is.
Absolutely.
And I tried to explain to him. I said, you don't listen to rap, you don't listen to hip hop, but you don't have to. Like I said, he doesn't get brought to do the Super Bowl if he's not going to bring tens of millions of eyes to it. Like, you have to understand how popular you have to be to get that gig. So when you're like, I've never heard of him, well, that's on you. That's
Google
on
is
you.
still free.
I just want you to know that Kendrick Lamar is one of the most famous artists in the world, and he really, and this is amazing to say, he really saved his best for that performance. And this is a guy who's had some memorable performances, but oh wow, halftime, a lot to unpack.
And I'm still, and what's kind of funny is it's everywhere now. I mean, streams and downloads of Not Like Us, and then people finding the rest of his catalog are jumping through the roof. The amounts of videos on social media that I'm seeing, one, that aren't just, playing the song, or, because there's way more to that song than just the A minor line. Just there's so many more layers to it. And that's just kind of how he is as an artist. There's so many layers. Everything has a meaning, from the clothes he's wearing to the color choices of the the outfits for the dancers, the movements, this, that, and the other. And it was really kind of interesting to see what I was able, as a male colored lady from the suburbs, because you and I can both agree that performance was not for us. And that's why people are having a lot of problem with it, is because
why we see a lot of meltdowns online right now, because
it's because,
let's be honest, white America is not understanding right now. Let's just be 100% honest with it.
So I realize, as a non-melanated lady who does season her food, though I am still Sicilian, so I can still cook. Hold on. But I realized that this performance wasn't for me, and that's okay. I felt like kind of a guest at this performance, and being able to see all of the references and the messages and the symbols and things like that were coming through, that I could see. And then actually seeing videos of amazing people breaking it down even further and providing a perspective that I didn't think of. And just to know all of the little things. I mean, it was just, we watched history that night. We all watched history. The viewership of the Super Bowl actually did go down significantly after halftime. I mean, him closing his show saying, "Turn the TV off." Just so many lyrics that stood out and just amazing. But what really I want to kind of tip my hat to Kendrick Lamar about is, this man got paid by the NFL for a protest. That's what it was.
And by the way, with the very man whose political rationale that he disagrees with in audience.
Yes.
That might have been, I want to, using the biggest platform allowed to you in the world, the Super Bowl halftime. And, I do want to applaud the bravery of Kendrick Lamar, because that might have been the biggest statement a black man has ever made to America in history. And, and so there's a couple of things that stood out to me. First of all, when Samuel L. Jackson came out as Uncle Sam, I'm like, oh God, game is on. Like,
Ooh.
I mean, he started it right there, and so I was watching the halftime with some friends, and one happens to be a black man and a huge Kendrick guy. He's actually the one that introduced me to Kendrick Lamar, beyond just, the poppy side of Kendrick Lamar, but the deep storytelling side of Kendrick Lamar. So I actually had a little preview to Kendrick, and I kind of had an idea what was coming because I've been listening to his discography for the last few weeks before the show. And it had nothing to do with the halftime. It's just my friends like, hey, you got to listen to this. You grew up listening to NWA. You grew up listening to, East Coast, West Coast rap in the 90s, which I did. I was a big rap guy in the 90s. Kendrick Lamar. So I fell out of love with rap in the 2000s. Overproduced.
Yeah.
Not the message there. It all kind of sounded the same. There was no originality. Kendrick Lamar is a throwback to what started hip hop, what started rap. Was a bunch of kids from the hood screaming to America that America needs help.
Yep.
And that their experience is not most of our experience. And he is such a throwback to those days. It is enthralling, especially as a historian. As a guy with an appreciation of history, like you and I both do. But I, once again, friends of the pod, I have a degree in history. That is my background. I am a historian, first and foremost. And to see what he did, and once again, I have an advantage. I knew all the songs meant. I'd already done my homework. And like you said, BB, and you put it perfectly. That was not for me.
No.
That was not for you.
Nope.
For the people screaming online, you have missed the point. And I'm going to tell you what the point is, because you can go online right now and just say, what does Kendrick's halftime mean? You know what? Take a moment. Instead of screaming about a Super Bowl halftime not being for you, not being your poppy version of what you want, take a moment and learn. Because this was a teachable moment. Kendrick Lamar put us all to class. And I cannot tell you the respect I have for that man, what he did in that. But once again, we don't want to get political, but white America, this is a chance for you to become a little more worldly. So instead of going, oh, I didn't like it, it's not. No, learn from it. Seriously, take 5-10 minutes, go online, and just, maybe I'll put it in the comments. But there was an explanation. I think I sent it to you of the song by song breakdown of what he was doing and what Samuel L. Jackson was doing with his commentary. That is just brilliant. And I, once again, if anything, we like to be teachers on this pod, and we like to inform. Take a moment, do a little research, guys. I will make sure in the comments that we have a link to some places you can go, because I think it's that important. I really do. I think right now in our current political climate, we are in a different type of civil rights movement. We're living it right now, but I think when we look back, America always seems to come back stronger from these moments. So I'm hoping a lot of people take, because, another thing, once again, this was not for us, but has a lot of people are experiencing right now. They are not the we, they are the they. And it's a lot of people who are we're not expecting to happen. You could just go online. There are a lot of people who, as we said, effed around, and now they're finding out. And you can learn some stuff from Kendrick if you're feeling that way. If you're feeling like,
absolutely,
maybe what you thought you were asking for from America, and that's not what you're getting. And once again, go online. There's a lot of people who may have voted against their best interest and are really upset right now. Kendrick, you listening to Kendrick, or you trying to read up on Kendrick, he gets you. You may not get him, but he gets you. And it might be worth your time. It might be worth your time. We went way too political on this pod today.
We did. We're doing political today. Ooh.
But sometimes, though, and then that's once again, the beauty of sports. It's such a microcosm of society. And sometimes these things cross. And we did say we said last week, this was going to happen. Like, we predicted what was going to happen after halftime. We kind of predicted the conversations that were going to happen online. Yep. The I-71 Playbook Pod, guys, come here. We will set you in the right direction for the next week of sports. Anyway, anything else about the Super Bowl, BB? Anything else about halftime other than thumbs up to Kendrick Lamar from both of us?
Yeah, seriously, hats off to Kendrick Lamar. The one thing I will say, again, and for the entire week following on social media after that performance, one is it's sparking discussions between, people that may not have conversations previously.
Absolutely.
But there's 2 videos I saw within the last 2 days that have made me going, all right, so this is way bigger than we all thought. So this weekend, Saturday Night Live is doing their 50-year celebration.
Yeah.
And Friday they had a concert with all sorts of people, and they brought out Will Ferrell and Anna Gasteyer, who reprised their role of they're like a middle school teaching couple that sings songs in their own way. So you have 2, this color people singing Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us.
I need to watch that. I missed that.
It's out there. And then this morning, as I was doing my morning scroll of TikTok, this is absolutely no lie. I could not make this up if I wanted to. I came across a video, and the account name is Sister Mary Blaze, an actual nun who is dancing to Not Like Us.
And by the way, I bet you Sister Mary Blaze, she got it, because I would imagine she is a social justice warrior. This is a woman who is fighting poverty, fighting all the good fights in her life, and dedicated. I guarantee she got Kendrick. She got it.
And the comments were like, what in the Sister Mary Clarence is happening?
Sister Mary Clarence,
excuse the Holy Ghost out of me. It was just great. But but that just kind of speaks to the volume of what we all witnessed Sunday night. And unfortunately, the people who are saying that, I don't get it, I don't understand it, they're the ones who kind of need to hear it. But
they are. And you know what, though? And here's the same thing for, it's just life in general. If it reaches a few people, if it changes a few hearts and minds, if it opens people's eyes up to greater issues in society, it was all worth it.
Absolutely.
And I had, and we'll have this conversation off pod. But I had a conversation online with a friend of mine last night, and my jaw dropped because the change in stance that he had because of just a recent month, the last month in politics. Went from one extreme to the other, and it blew my mind. So some things are changing. Some things are changing, and that's good. That's good. But moving on.
But speaking of high drama and a lot of things that got people talking, the Browns have released the financial breakdown of Jimmy's Wonderland. And again, you and I have thoughts. You and I have thoughts.
We do. And, once again, this is not a place that we see eye to eye. I'm a big proponent for the Dome. I'm a big proponent for getting it off the lakefront. Once again, as a former season ticket holder, I can say that now because I did not renew. Actually, I think renewal's up in March, but I'm not renewing, whatever the official thing is. But somebody who has given the Cleveland Browns a lot of money in the past decade. I absolutely hate the lakefront for football. I absolutely hate that stadium, even though I paid lots of money to go there. I think that a dome and what they want to build in Brook Park is going to be an economic boom for Northeast Ohio. These are things I believe. So the question is how are they going to pay for this? Now, we know Jimmy said he's in for half. And Jimmy could pretty much cut a check for half of this. And a lot of people are like, oh, he has to pay for it all. I do, once again, and we all know my feeling on billionaires here. I'm not a fan. Mm-mm. And I'm definitely not a fan of Jimmy Haslam. If you've been watching the pod, I'm not a Jimmy Haslam fan. But nope. I do want to kind of, and I'm always about justice here, and I'm always about being fair on this pod. Jimmy is going to make the single biggest investment in a stadium by a private citizen ever. So, when we say, well, he's only paying half, he could pay the full thing. Once again, nobody is paid this much to put up their own stadium. So, kudos to Jimmy on that. Now, the problem is, how does the other half get paid? And then that's where the financing plan. And I imagine you probably have that right in front of you, don't you, BB?
I do, actually.
By the way, we did not know that. We did not plan that. I just knew she had it. So go ahead. Let's talk about it.
This new Brook Park Oasis, 2.4.
You have to admit, by the way, it looks pretty cool. It looks really neat. Come on. It looks really cool. I bet you. Okay, I'm putting this on right now. Okay, what's the day? February 16th? February 16th, 2025, folks. I promise you I will get BB to a game in the new dome. I promise I will convince her to go to a game in the new dome with me. It will happen. Okay, let's go. Do it.
We'll see. I mean, it looks like something, but we'll get into that later. $2.4 billion.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a B. That's a B.
With a B.
That's a B.
So how that's going to break down. So yeah, Jimmy says he's in for half. So they're expecting $600 million to come from the state of Ohio, $178 million from Cuyahoga County, $422 million from the city of Brook Park. How?
Okay, so here's how. And this is where I think the plan. First of all, the last thing Jimmy Haslam wanted to do was go to the ballot. So he had to get creative. His team had to get creative with this. If they go to the ballot and say we want public funding, it's getting turned down. We saw that happen in Buffalo. We saw that happen in Chicago. We saw it happen in Kansas City. They're 2 times defending Super Bowl champions, and they could not get public funding passed on a ballot. So what's going to happen here, and how this money is going to happen? First of all, the Ohio money is going to be coming from a tax on sports gambling. I think it was a 1.5% increase, if I'm correct, on sports gambling.
No.
Okay.
They actually want to double it.
Okay. So I think that was. I don't think that, but I think the increase was still pretty minimal because we're not taxing it a lot right now.
Well, so right now, and Google is still free. If you are in the state of Ohio, if you are watching the state of Ohio, first of all, please like and subscribe. But also, take a peek at House Bill 96, okay? Because that's what this is all about. And currently, the sports betting tax in the state of Ohio is 20%. And this particular bill wants to take it to 40%.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, it's a huge jump. So especially since you want so much of that to come from the state and from the cities and the counties, that's kind of a stretch.
I'm pulling up the same chart I think you're looking at right now. So
it's a hefty price tag. And although we're going to go back in time a little bit. So, however, this was a while back because we've been kind of sitting on this conversation for a couple weeks now. But there was a comment that you had made regarding that both Dallas and Buffalo do not play in their namesake cities. So again, I did a little research. Both teams, the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys, have both had 2 stadiums in their entire lifetime. Okay.
And has have the Cleveland Browns.
What's that?
Has have the Cleveland Browns.
Well,
Huntington Bank Field right now is only the only second stadium they've had.
Correct. No. We'll get to that in a second. Hold on.
They play someplace before Municipal? Okay, I'll go ahead. Do your thing.
Again, baby. More receipts than a CVS, okay? Ta-da!
Oh, bring it. Bring it. I want to see where it's going.
All right. So Buffalo was in their War Memorial Stadium from 1960 to 1973. Okay. They moved into their new stadium, which is the Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, 1973 up until obviously now. Dallas had Texas Stadium from 1971 to 2008.
Right.
So you want to talk about a longevity in having a building open for a while. And yeah, I understand there's different climate things and there's more things that factor into it. I'm aware. And they've only been in Jerry World since 2009.
Correct.
So the location that Cleveland Browns Stadium sits on right now has been the only site that they have played on since its team's inception. And that was in 1946. So
that was Municipal Stadium, right?
That was Municipal Stadium.
There's no stadium before Municipal. Okay, I just want to make sure that I was okay. So I was right there. Okay.
No, you were right. I apologize.
Okay. No,
there was no. So, and then when Modell moved the team in '95, it was rebuilt in 1997. So the stadium that we currently have is only 26 years old. It can now legally drink. It can legally vote. It can do all those fun things. So.
But would it have understood Kendrick's halftime show?
Ooh. I think it would. Like and subscribe for this witty banner. But you also have, because of what Art Modell did, now there is something on the Ohio books called the Modell Law, which any professional sports owner using the tax-supported facility for home games and gets state funding cannot leave unless granted permission or gives 6 months notice. So the city of Cleveland is now trying to invoke this and become in a very public pissing contest with Jimmy Haslam. And which consequently, Modell Law was also invoked a couple of years ago, back when Jimmy stepped in and bought the Columbus Crew, the professional soccer team in Columbus. So that was incited.
What was going to be moved to Austin, Texas. So
they were going to be moved to Austin, Texas.
I want to make sure everybody understands parameters here.
So where I have the prickliness about Brook Park or bust is a couple things. One, it's tradition, and if you are watching this podcast now and you are fans of the Canadian comedy show Letterkenny, you don't F with tradition. So there's that.
My buddy Phil is going to love that reference if he watches the pod. He's going to love that reference. He's a big Letterkenny fan.
Well, got good taste. But also, where they're building, the current infrastructure cannot support this, and it won't. That's the kicker. And not only is it going to be a construction nightmare, because where they're building this is incredibly close to Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. And much like one of the downfalls with where Cleveland Browns Stadium currently sits, there's not a whole hell of a lot of ways in or out. It's a choke point, it's a bottleneck, and it's a huge pain in the ass.
I can speak to that.
Absolutely.
And even worse, when you watch the Browns mostly lose, it makes for a very long trip home because you can't get out of the city for an hour.
You cannot get out of there fast enough.
You are trapped there. You are trapped.
And that was evident for the last home game of the season because the city of Cleveland decided to do road construction on Al Lerner Way right in front of the stadium. So that was a little bit of a level of petty that I'm kind of here for. But where they're thinking about building this.
But by the way, before we get to Brook Park, you're in a battle. If the city of Cleveland really wanted to keep the Browns downtown, and this is why I think this is all political theater, but we'll get to this after you talk about Brook Park. If the city of Cleveland wanted to keep the Browns downtown, that was the goal.
Right.
You're not going to make it impossible to get and leave the stadium. Like the last impression this season of Cleveland Browns Stadium, where the Browns want to keep them downtown, where the city wants to keep them downtown, was a traffic nightmare. Was absolutely terrible timing, city planning, whatever. Like, why do you do that? Wait one more week. You want to make it as inviting as a place, like, and once again, just what was the leadership of Cleveland? And by the way, so you guys know we're being apolitical. We have attacked the Republicans and Democrats today.
Right. We are equal opportunity haters.
We are. Why in the world did the brain trust of Cleveland, why did Mayor Justin Bibb say, yeah, you know what? We want to prove that we want to keep the Browns. Let's make this as horrible of an experience for its fans. And that's the last impression.
They're already going to a Browns game, so that's already going to be a horrible experience.
Right. And that's the last impression that we all have. And it's just like, what are we doing here? I mean, come on, Cleveland. Anyway,
and like I said, it's a public political pissing contest between the city of Cleveland and Haslam Sports Management. That's what it's going to boil down to.
And right now, I hate it. The billionaire is winning. Like, the billionaire is winning this because Cleveland just keeps stepping on it. It can't get out of its own way with this.
Right.
And we'll talk about that. Go ahead to Brook Park because I will talk about where Cleveland has screwed this whole thing up.
Here's the other thing is, like I said, where they want to build this, the site that Jimmy has already bought. If I remember correctly, it is actually where the old Ford plant used to stand. Right. So
right across the street from Hopkins.
Right. So there is literally only one way to get into Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, and that is Route 237. The amount of construction that this is going to take is going to be so disruptive to the airport. And the airport is going to be like, no. Plus, it's going to interfere with airspace and things like that. So there's things that I don't think that they necessarily thought about in choosing this site. And I know
come back to you on that one.
That's fine. I love it. And I know people are going to come back and say, well, it's possible that it's even right within city limits because one side of this street is still Cuyahoga County and the other one is still Brook Park and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, now you're getting down to semantics. I don't think that the area, will it absolutely help Brook Park in the long run? Obviously. It's going to bring in more dollars. It's going to bring in more businesses, more jobs, more everything. But where they want to build this, the current infrastructure that is there, that exists, that it cannot be sustained.
Okay, so
one last thing. I mean, because you're also going to have to start now taking homes too. Because if you want to build this up the way he's talking about building this up, you got to start taking and buying up people's properties. Which in this day and age, that's not something you want to do with. But all right, I will yield the floor to the gentleman from Worcester.
So a couple things here. I'm one of those people who believes, and you know me, I'm not quick to react. I really, that's why my Miles rant last week probably surprised you.
It did.
I like to kind of be a fact finder first. And one of the things, okay, first of all, the city of Cleveland, we'll talk about the Modell Law real quick. The Modell Law was written in spirit for exactly what happened with the Columbus Crew.
Yes. That
you can't take a franchise and move them to the other side of the country. Like, you can't do that without the chance of the franchise being bought. And the Haslam Sports Group but bought it, and they were heroes. And then they end up winning 2 MSL Cups, like MLS Cups, since they bought it. Cool. Very cool. What the Modell Law was not meant to do was literally prevent a team from moving across the street from the city limits. And I want people to understand that Cleveland Hopkins Airport, the city of Cleveland, incorporated Hopkins Airport. So Hopkins Airport is Cleveland. It is Cleveland proper. And I want people to understand that. This building, okay, this facility, this entertainment district, whatever, I mean, you've seen it online. It's incredible if they pull this off. It's across the street. The Modell Law was not written with the intention of keeping a team from moving the team out of downtown. That was not the intention. And
You're right.
When you have to remember too, like the Modell Law, once again, the spirit of the law was to make sure Cleveland didn't lose a sports team, make sure Cincinnati didn't lose a sports team, make sure Columbus didn't lose a sports team. That's what, and that's not happening. Okay, no,
it's not.
Like where this place is built. Okay, when you go up another half a mile up 480, you can see downtown. It is a 10-minute drive from downtown Cleveland. Like this is not, and with somebody, once again, driving up 71, I-71 Playbook Pod, like and subscribe. This is not the spirit of that law. And I think this, and this is the danger of what Cleveland's doing using the Modell Law to challenge this. The Haslam Sports Group immediately went to federal courts. Yeah. And there is going to be a federal court judge who looks at this and goes, this is clearly not what this was meant. And not only are the Browns going to win this, but then at that point, the Modell Law is going to be ruled unconstitutional, and it's not going to be on effect. Now, at this point, hey, the Indians like, hey, you don't like, or the Indians, the Guardians are like, hey, you don't like us. We have a new owner. they can move because the Modell Law is not longer protecting them. And that's because the city of Cleveland is fumbling this over semantics. Yeah. And by the way, the city of Cleveland could have prevented this. We know for a fact the Haslam Sports Group 10 years ago told Cleveland, hey, we want to start planning for our next stadium. What can you do for us? And Cleveland sat on it and sat on it and sat on it. And now they're like, hey, we bought land. We're moving the team to Brook Park. Now they want to throw a political theater. That's all this is political theater. They want to make sure they can do two things. Hey, we try to protect the Browns and keep them downtown. The second thing is I guarantee you they're trying right now to angle behind closed doors to get that part of Brook Park incorporated like they did Hopkins. So they get the taxes. So they get the money and the revenue. And that's what this is all about. Is Cleveland's going to lose a ton of revenue, tax revenue,
absolutely,
parking revenue, which is owned by the city that they're not going to have anymore. Every game day, millions of dollars is brought in parking every game day. They're going to lose that. That's what this is about.
Well, and not just about parking, but also, I mean, West 6th is literally like right there.
But West 6th, they closed down the West 6th tailgate. That's what I'm saying. Like Justin Bibb closed that down. Like that area you can't even tailgate on anymore. So yeah, that's all been shut down because of problems and public intoxication, whatever. So the only place really is the Muni. And so Cleveland has fumbled this from day one, and they had a chance to be the shiny heroes. And now they came up with a plan. Hey, we'll give you Lake Burke. We'll give you Burke. We'll give you the lakefront. We think 2.4 billion's a lot. Burke is built on sinking land. Right. They would have to do. We're talking another $1 billion just to reinforce to build up what they were saying, and they're doing it at the last minute. So, once again, we are watching the city of Cleveland, who has traditionally politically fumbled so much and cost Northeast Ohio so much because they're ineptitude, doing it again, and they're making Jimmy Haslam look reasonable, which, as we all know, I hate. Yeah. And so, what is going to end up happening, and I said this from day one. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of friends about this. What's going to end up happening is they're going to work out a deal that has some sports groups going to give money to revitalize the lakefront. They're going to make money off of this. They're going to help build up where the stadium was. They're going to put condos, and they're going to put a park, and they're going to probably put some restaurants and hotels right on the lake, and we're going to finally build up the lakefront because we're the only major city in America that has a beautiful lakefront, and we do nothing with it. Why? Because Cleveland can't get out of its own way. You go to any other major city, you go to Baltimore on the harbor, you go to on the river in Chicago. I mean, like, they have these beautiful fronts. You know, the River Walk in San Antonio. They take, I mean, what a space, and Cleveland's done nothing with it except for put a crappy stadium on. Municipal was a terrible stadium. Huntington Bank Field is a terrible stadium.
Yeah.
And it is only 26 years old, and you are 100% right, built in 1999. But they rushed that. They absolutely rushed it.
Of course they rushed it.
The foundations alone would take $1 billion to rebuild if they were to try to upgrade that. $1 billion. And by the way, who's going to pay that? It's not going to be Jimmy Haslam. That is the taxpayers. So getting back to how we're going to fund this, just kind of wrap up my point to this, because this is getting done. Like I've said this before, billionaires get whatever they want in America. They just do. They don't play on an equal playing field. They get whatever they want.
Right.
Mike DeWine's fully in the camp of the Haslams. He's even looking for a way to try to make a stadium fund through tax and gambling, for tax and parking at the stadium, for a higher ticket tax. And by the way, folks, to go to a Cleveland Browns game in 2029 is going to be super expensive. I think I talked about going to Allegiant Stadium. My seats at Allegiant Stadium were, it was weird. It was not playing this way. Were almost the exact same seats I have at Cleveland Browns Stadium or at Huntington Bank Field. Almost the same exact. Like, I mean, right on the 20-yard line, up in the 500s. And I paid 3.5 times more for those tickets than I paid for my tickets. And that's not to mention the PSLs that are going to happen. You're going to have to pay thousands of dollars just for the right to buy the ticket. Then you're going to pay double, triple what you're paying right now for the tickets. That's for season ticket holders. Secondary market is going to be astronomical. It's going to be astronomical. That's the reality of what's going to happen. But that place is getting built. That place will sell out, no matter what crappy products on the field, because it did in 1999 and 2000 and 2001. It will now. The billionaire will win, and the city of Cleveland is going to look like a bunch of fools. And it didn't have to be this way. And it's once again, what was the original name of our podcast that we saw it was already taken?
What is it, remember? Like the Burning River broadcast?
The Burning River. We were going to go with the Burning River pod.
Right.
Okay. The city of Cleveland let a river catch on fire. And I know that's a joke that we've talked about forever.
Twice.
It happened. Yeah, it actually happened quite a few times. And we're still dealing with that kind of ineptitude. No matter what, I always believe there are people in government who are trying to do the good things. But right now, the city of Cleveland has just had a history of fumbling these things, of absolutely fumbling these things. And if you ever watch Browns 95, or you watch anything about Modell leaving, the city of Cleveland could have solved that problem 10 years before. Like, that wasn't something that just happened overnight.
No.
And I will never feel sympathy for Art Modell, but you understand why he did what he did.
And I kind of want to dig into that a little bit, maybe over the summer.
Yeah, we can.
Because it's a fascinating story, and his legacy in Cleveland is tampered, obviously, because of his actions. And he's been absolutely vilified.
And he
rightfully so.
He should be, yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, rightfully so. However, I do think there's merit in finding out, because he actually did a lot of great things, not only for the city of Cleveland, but for the sport of football as a whole. Not just Cleveland Browns football, but football as a whole. So I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. And it's, it's his legacy. And you and I are both not only history nerds, but we're also fans of the musical Hamilton, and the line, "Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?" A lot of people don't know the before stuff for Art Modell. All I see is that last home game in 1995 and the signs and the people crying and it just left. So I'd like to kind of dig into that a little bit.
Two videos. If you have ESPN Plus or any ESPN subscription, or you can find it somewhere, please try to watch Believe Land. That's some homework for you guys watching the pod, or watch Cleveland 95, which was done by ESPN. Both of them incredible documentaries about what happened. They do tell it is very fair to everybody. It's fair to Art Modell. It's fair to the city of Cleveland. But yeah, absolutely watch those. We'll get into that. We'll do a little history this summer in the dog days of summer on the pod. That sounds awesome.
I like it. So I do have one final question for you, though.
Yes.
So you sent something to me yesterday morning, and you put something on my radar.
Okay.
And I was almost afraid to Google it because I didn't know if I was going to have to go to Urban Dictionary, or if I was going to have to, if it was going to put me on some kind of weird lists and websites that,
Can I set up can I set up how I came to this before we unveil it? What led to my text to you? Okay,
absolutely.
So the person I live with, like you, enjoys a morning romp on TikTok. And I'm sitting there kind of planning my workout. I'm getting ready to go to the gym, and I hear this thing. And I look at her phone and I go, "That's not real, right? This is a spoof." I was thinking, you ever see the movie Best of Show where they spoof the dog show, the Westminster dog show?
Yes, I love
fantastic. That. Eugene Levy, fantastic. Catherine O'Hara. Oh my God, just fantastic, funny movie. I thought that's what this was.
I can see that, actually.
And then I said, "That's not real, right?" And she goes, "Oh no, it's absolutely a real thing." I'm like, "You're kidding." So she brought up videos, and I'm like, "They have." I sent you the link, I think, to the national championship of this.
Yes.
And I don't know. And you said in reply, and I'm going to let you unveil it here in a second. You said in reply that ESPN The Ocho would cover this. I don't even know if they cover this, because the American Dodgeball Association of America is more likely than this thing that's actually happening. Okay, so BB, what did I send you yesterday?
So I was introduced yesterday morning to the competitive world of hobby horsing. And I'm sitting here and he sends it, and I'm like, again, I'm afraid to Google because I don't want to end up on weird mailing lists or whatever.
Wait, and by the way, we in our past, I want people to know that BB and I have sent each other a lot of not appropriate for school content. And I'm pretty sure that's where you thought I was going with this, until you were like, "Oh no, this is very real, and this is not some disgusting thing on the online. This is a very real thing."
I didn't want to go to Urban Dictionary. So hobby horsing, for the uninitiated, is competitive horse. I can't even. It's competitive horse riding with stick ponies. When you were a little kid, it's a metal or a wooden pole.
My least favorite
horse head.
My least favorite picture of me growing up is me with one of those. I was 3 or 4 years old, and I'll have to say, we may even have to put it on the pod next week. There's a oh, you know, there's no shame in my game. There is a picture of little BC back in late 1970s, early 1980s with a little stick horse. Okay, it does exist. Never in my wildest imaginations would I think that there would be women prancing, doing the dressage, doing jumps.
That's what threw me. Right, the jumps, they're doing dressage. I'm like,
and they're doing it with a stuffed horse's head between their legs.
Right, and I'm like, first of all, there's also no shame in my game. I am only legally an adult, like on paper, but otherwise I'm pretty much 12. Like I'll play with the toys at the store, and I'll push all the try me buttons and whatever. Like I'll do it. I have no care. I have played Mario Kart in a Target store on New Year's Eve. I've done all sorts of goofy things.
Hey, I played hide and go seek at Walmart before, so let's you know.
Right, you know, let's talk about that. But
shout out Walmart, Alliance, Ohio.
I have a stick horse. I do. It's downstairs in our basement because my person is a photographer, and we have all sorts of just photo props everywhere. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this would be absolutely hysterical. So now I almost want to start training because clearly taking a look at me.
Oh my God, you have to do this. You have to film this. We need to train you for a hobby horse event. We have to do it.
So anyone out, I'm putting this out here. If anyone would like to be my trainer and potentially be the BB Whisperer,
So quick side story. Years ago, I had a radio show in college, and we liked my future wife and I had this show, and we like to talk about things in Alliance we saw because we were from Alliance, and so I'm Mount Union, and we did some pretty funny bits. Right. And we did one at the Carnation Mall, which no longer exists. Was the ham radio operator show.
Oh, God.
You know, yes, and I mean, nobody ever listened to our broadcast, so we did this whole thing where we talked about ham radio and the lives of a ham radio. We did a bit on the lives of a ham radio operator, and it was probably not the most flattering thing. We weren't trying to be mean, but it was pretty funny. Nobody listened to our show. I know we had a group of like 4 teenagers at Marlinton High School that listened to us, and they called in every night. That was it. Like, it was college radio. Who cared? Nobody cared about ratings, right? So I get called in my producer's office the next day because the ham radio operators of Alliance had caught wind of my bit.
Oh no!
And they took high offense to it. Now, that being said, hobby horse enthusiasts that might be out here, we here at the I-71 Playbook Pod do not demean any athletic endeavor.
Absolutely not.
But what you're doing is a little weird. We have to make BB training for a hobby horse competition. Whether or not you get to one, we have to make this a thing. So anyway.
Well, hold on. It just hit me. It just hit me. Hold on. We're going to bring this full circle before we close it out. Maybe it's not for us. I mean, maybe we're not supposed to get it. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think BB, I'm going to give you some homework as you. So behind the camera, BB produces the show. I want you guys to know that. So BB, if I can give you a little homework, can you please?
Sure. Add more things. Let's go.
In the description, can you put a link to? Can you put a link possibly to one of the Kendrick explanation things? Just a link.
Yes.
Can you put a link to the stadium funding?
Yes.
And can you put a link to the National Hobby Horse Championship rodeo thing I sent you yesterday, please?
I can.
We're just trying to expand our audience. I can absolutely do that. And if anybody out there, hobby horses, we want you on the pod.
We want to talk. I just want to talk.
We have questions.
I have a lot of questions. I just want to talk. Just a little chat.
I think it's a wonderful place to leave it. We'll talk next week. We will. I'm sure we'll have. It seems like every week we have drama in Northeast Ohio sports. So we'll see what that brings. Also, big next week. Let's preview the combine. Yes. We both have thoughts on the scouting combine, which Browns fans are going to be watching very intently, and we're going to give you a guide to how to watch the combine next week and things to keep in mind as you do that. Hopefully the Cavs get off to a great second half of the season. And once again, I know things will come up. Hobby Horsin, hockey fights, and Kendrick Lamar this week.
Hey!
Did I just make the title of the pod?
I think you might have, actually.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you.
Like and subscribe.
So, with that all being said, after this roller coaster Sunday, from the dog pound to the shoe, and literally everything in between, I'm BB.
I'm BC.
And this has been the I-71 Playbook Podcast.